Emma Frame here, and welcome to Voices of Yoga podcast, co-hosted with Lindsay Porter, where we bring you inspiring yoga stories and insights from yogis and teachers from around the world. These stories highlight the benefits of yoga and encourage those who maybe haven't started yoga yet to get started, and for the more experienced to delve deeper. We hope you enjoy. On the show today we have Ishan and Shiva Tiguniat from the Himalayan Institute. Ishan is the executive director and son of Pandit Tiguniat, the current spiritual leader, and Shiva has been working with the Institute on their wisdom library and is also the Institute's curriculum development manager, as well as being a new mum. This is podcast number 119 and video podcast number 2. Absolutely delighted to have on the show today is Ishan and Shiva, and welcome to the show on Voices of Yoga.
Thank you.
So Ishan, you very kindly came on the show a few months ago, and you were talking about the Himalayan Institute, and you also shared with us your yoga journey. So I'm wondering if, Shiva, I could throw that to you straight away, and also tell the listeners about your journey, how yoga came into your life and where it's taking you.
Sure. So I actually came to yoga through asana, the way that many people do, because of some back issues. I was having a lot of back problems, and some of them were structural, and I was looking toward many modalities for relief. And a friend of mine in graduate school suggested yoga, and I went to a yoga class with her, and I was hooked. I started getting relief. I started feeling more calm, less anxious, and just better able to manage my life. And it was wonderful. And at the same time, I thought, there's something more also than just asana. I knew there was, but I wasn't exactly sure where to go to find that next sort of level. And maybe a couple of years later, someone introduced me to the Himalayan Institute through the writings of Pandit Rajmani Tiguniat and Swami Rama, and I was hooked. I started finding that sort of experiential wisdom that gave the context for my own practice. And at the same time, I was discovering meditation. So that was the next sort of entry point. And then when I came and I visited the Himalayan Institute after reading about it for so long, and was sitting in the meditation shrine and learning sort of the prayers of the tradition and mantras, it just all sort of clicked in for me. And at the time, I was actually a professor of classics, and I decided, after teaching for a couple of years, I was so felt such a deep connection with the tradition that I decided to leave my professorial job and move here to the Institute full time. And I was learning Sanskrit. I had Latin and Greek under my belt, was learning Sanskrit at the time, and that deepened my knowledge and my study, which in turn fed my practice. So there's kind of a symbiotic relationship here, as we know, between our study and our practice. And when I came here, I just sort of fell into some of the initiatives that we were doing, one of which is called the Wisdom Library, where we have this whole repository of multimedia, print, audio, and video materials, all related to the wisdom of the tradition. And so that was sort of Ishan and my first project, was co-creating this wisdom library, which has now been in existence for probably 3 years. And so it has been a long journey. That was when we were colleagues before we were partners.
Right. So, fantastic, lovely. And I also came into yoga through back, so I can totally relate to that story. And it's such a lovely journey that you've taken from there, as we would hope that the asana then develops into a much deeper understanding of it all, which is fabulous. And is the Wisdom Library your main role within the Himalayan Institute?
It was, but I'm now a mother as well, so I've taken a little bit of a back seat as far as the editorial. I was the editorial director before. That's kind of on hiatus. I'm still involved doing some editing, some writing, some video work, But right now I'm also teaching and writing myself. I just taught a seminar just this past October called Mantra and the Dynamics of Sacred Sound. So mantra is one of my passions, and everything related to sound, vibrations, and how that leads us to this connection with our source. So that's, that's what I was really interested in sharing. And I actually will be teaching a small segment of that, just a little sliver in at Polston, actually, in the UK. So,
Fabulous. And
yeah.
we're definitely going to cover that. I'm very intrigued to find out what's happening there. Can I go back to our previous podcast, Ishan, with you were talking about the year-long meditation. How
Sure.
has it been going? I had, in the back of my mind somewhere, I was thinking that you were hitting, was it the 1 million targets of
Yeah.
group members? How's it all going?
It's going really well. It's been so inspiring to see a tremendous outpouring of love and engagement in this group practice. We launched the practice on July 16th of last year, with the goal of 1.8 million collective hours of meditation in a 1-year span. And we're just about at the halfway mark. There's over 7,000 people from 116 countries around the world who are practicing, and we're about 306,000 hours in. So we still have some work to go, but we're well underway and picking up momentum every day. It's amazing to see that there's a really amazing meditation tracker tool. If you go to yearlongmeditation.org, and you can see the total number of hours meditated in the countries, and that's the same interface that people can use to contribute their hours. So it's neat to see. We have a little dashboard in our main hallway here, and it's amazing to see the countries increasing, and it just shows how global and connected we are today. And that's really the power of this kind of group practice, that people from all different walks of life, different faiths, different countries and cultures come together with a common intention of nurturing collective consciousness. And that's really been the most inspiring part of our year-long meditation.
That's really wonderful. And are you getting feedback from people who are participating? Can they respond to you as to how it's going? Do they find it an easy journey, or any feedback?
Yeah. Well, we get feedback all the time on social media, on email. And I think a common thread of the feedback is gratitude for everyone being connected in this way, and a really extraordinary feeling of support. There's all this discussion about how technology sometimes can make us more isolated or take us away from ourselves. And yet we also find that if we use technology wisely, it can really nurture us. And one of the amazing points of feedback we frequently get is how having a group practice like year-long meditation, where there's a goal of meditating consistently and sharing that meditation with the collective, inspires us to practice more regularly and maybe even to expand our practice. And that's a really great benefit, because it's the power of meditation really unfolds with that consistency and with that feeling of being held and nourished. And I think that's one of the beautiful stories that I've been inspired by from many practitioners in this group practice.
Fabulous. And Lindsey, co-host, is thoroughly enjoying it. As you agree with you that the group thing can really help. I've always found meditation the difficult area for me, but I'm going to get on it and join in with the energy of it.
Please do. That's fantastic.
Well.
Yeah, we had a lovely conversation with Lindsey last time, and it was really wonderful to hear her story of how meditation's played a pivotal role in her life as well.
Absolutely. And thinking about what you were saying about technology, my son was talking about looking at the business aspect of technology, and the big CEOs of some of the very huge online social media platforms are now all meditating, which is fantastic news, because it's really getting out there that even if we do like technology, that meditation is a great counter to that as well.
Yeah, it's amazing to see how meditation has come into pop culture globally. And this idea, apps like Headspace and Calm are really popularizing it in a big way. But I think meditation is become a cultural force, and it really found an amazing way to weave itself into the fabric of global culture. And meditation can be a really amazing way to uplift human consciousness. One of the things that's really inspiring is how, we're all looking for that that next level of creativity and resilience and clarity. And often we think that to succeed in the world, we need to dive deeper into the world, vis-a-vis, growing our professional skills and competing. And yet there's a new understanding that success doesn't always come from competing and pushing ourselves externally, but rather by finding an inner resource. And that quiet space within is that wellspring of all creativity and resilience, and could be a competitive edge even for those who are very externally oriented, can be that fuel to help them succeed externally. So, yogis have understood this for thousands of years, that meditation is the key to inner balance and balance as a whole. And now society is, in a much broader sense, is realizing that and applying it in a really unique way as far as how we succeed in the world as well.
I absolutely love that, and all good news. That's wonderful. That's great to know. And so we're very excited that you are going to be coming over to the UK, and you are running a retreat, the Nurturing the Fire of Collective Consciousness. So please tell us more about it.
Yeah, we're really excited to be coming to England, to Poleston Court Retreat Center, March 20th to 22nd. And this topic of nurturing the fire of collective consciousness really evolved out of the year-long meditation. So I like to call it a year-long meditation retreat that brings the spirit and practice of this year-long meditation to England, to our community there. We'll have, I'm sure, members joining from all across the UK and even Europe. And the idea of collective consciousness really is at the heart of the year-long meditation. This extraordinary fabric of creative intelligence that nourishes and holds all of creation in place. And there's this beautiful idea of the cosmic mind in yoga philosophy. That cosmic mind is really the essence of collective consciousness. And when we dive into meditation and we find that quietude within, it's a unique opportunity to connect to this collective consciousness, to connect to an intelligence that pervades all of creation and is our source. We're all looking to be nourished more deeply, to find a deeper capacity. And that's what collective consciousness is all about. And meditation is a big part of that. But one of the other unique things that the yoga tradition and the tantric tradition talks about is the idea of a number of different group practices beyond group meditation, which also amplify this experience of collective consciousness. And that really is what this particular program in England, Nurturing the Fire of Collective Consciousness, is all about. And one of these pivotal ideas that we'll be exploring is the idea of sacred fire. Sacred fire as an expression of collective consciousness. Our mind and work with meditation is one of the ways we work with sacred fire within. But there's also a counterpart outside of ourselves. And that's where Tantra in particular has done a beautiful job of helping us look at this connection between the world within and the world without. This idea of our microcosm being expressed in the macrocosm, and looking to how unique rituals of sacred fire externally can help us find a deeper connection within, and help us to connect ourselves and nurture the forces of nature. And that's what we'll be exploring in this idea of yajna, which is a tantric ritual of sacred fire, and many of the metaphysics that support that.
Wonderful. And for those who aren't familiar with a lot of your terms there, and maybe new to yoga, what can you paint a picture of exactly what the retreat would look like on a sort of day-to-day basis? What could people expect if they came along?
Yeah, absolutely. The retreat will be a combination of both classroom time and experiential time. So we'll be studying a number of these core concepts about collective consciousness, about the role of sacred fire and the idea of sacred fire in the tantric tradition, looking at the idea of the cosmic mind, which I talked about, going into some of the fundamentals of yoga metaphysics, and looking at how the cosmic mind relates to the personal mind, and how the path of meditation and the path of tantric rituals both work with that in unique ways. So in addition to our lectures, where we'll cover all these different points, we'll have a number of great experiential workshops working with asana, pranayama, and relaxation, all to really unfold the idea of pranic awareness, this energetic dimension of ourself, which is an expression of the sacred fire and this fire of collective consciousness, but in a very tangible way. So we'll work with that in a number of sessions that are asana, pranayama based. And then we'll also have an opportunity to do a practice of havan, which is a practice of sacred fire, where we'll invoke the sacred fire externally and make a number of unique tantric offerings with that sacred fire in conjunction with recitation of a beautiful set of Vedic mantras. So that'll be an opportunity where Shiv and I will lead, where people can join in this tantric ritual, participate by making offerings, and experience in a nutshell what this whole idea of the tantric ritual of sacred fire is all about, and how that might relate to our more approachable practice of asana pranayama, and look at that unique interplay of the idea of pranic awareness as fire within to the external fire, and see if that brings a little bit more awakening or richness in our practice.
Fabulous. So apologies, as I say, sometimes it goes into this whirring mode and then I end up with that in the background, so I'll just put my headphones in. So going back to the retreat, Shiva, what does the mantra aspect of the course include that you'll be involved in?
So actually, part of what I'll be teaching there is a beautiful set of Vedic mantras that's called the Satkara invocation. So we know from the Yoga Sutra that Satkara is this enthusiastic reverence for our practice that makes us excited to do our practice every day, where it doesn't feel like it's dry or routine or mechanical. So that's one scenario. You know, we sit down on our meditation cushion or our asana mat, but for our purposes, you know, of kind of year-long meditation and pranic awareness and meditation. So our practice at times could feel like we're just going through the motions. So that's the first scenario. So the second scenario is if you think about a seed that's just about to sprout, and that's actually one of the words and one of the images in this set of Vedic mantras. This udbhidaha is a seed that's just about to sprout and to give, to come into its own and to share and expand into the world. And that comes when our practice is well watered, when it's nourished, when it has the fertile soil that it needs in order for that seed to fully sprout and fulfill its true potential. Mm-hmm. So the set of mantras that I'll be leading the students through is actually at once a mantra recitation as well as a contemplation. So the sort of translation or interpretation of it is something that we can do at the very beginning of our practice as an invocation to connect with this same fire of collective consciousness and this very nurturing force, where we're invoking all of the benevolent and auspicious forces of nature and asking, humbly asking them to infuse our practice with that kind of nurturance and grace, and also asking to be connected even beyond the time that we're sitting for our meditation. So when we've had this sort of good meditation and we're in the zone, then we get up from our meditation and it's like it carries over into the rest of our day. It keeps us grounded, it keeps us centered, it keeps us being creative and productive and filled with vitality and energy and enthusiasm. And that's exactly what this invocation is. It's what it does, and it's what it has done for thousands of years. And it's been very carefully safeguarded by the tradition. And in this way, Panditji has asked me to share this with everyone who will be attending.
Wonderful. That sounds amazing. So remind me again when it will be happening?
March 20th to 22nd.
March
so it's a weekend retreat. Yeah.
Fabulous. That's great. It sounds absolutely wonderful. And you're also running Awakening Your Shakti. That's in Europe though, isn't it?
It's in Europe, yeah. So in Brussels, January 31st to February 2nd. It's again it's a residential or an immersion retreat hosted in the beautiful retreat center just outside of Brussels. And the idea for this one is also as a year-long meditation retreat. So it's fully part of the year-long meditation. But the subject of awakening yoga Shakti is a little bit more about our inner practice and looking at how through Abhyasa and Vairagya, two of the key concepts that are explored in the Yoga Sutra, the idea of practice and complete surrender or non-attachment. These twin forces are really what bring our practice to life. And looking at how Yoga Shakti is that, again, fire of consciousness that emerges from our practice. And we need to fuel this. So we'll go through a really beautiful study that's primarily based in the Yoga Sutra, looking at how we can awaken Yoga Shakti in our life through meditation, asana, pranayama, and a deeper study of the living wisdom of the yoga tradition, which is where the Yoga Sutra comes in.
Lovely. So the key message really is if people can get started on the year-long meditation, then there's so many other aspects that they can participate in, both in the UK and Europe, and where you are, to really enhance that understanding of meditation.
Absolutely. It's an extraordinary opportunity to join together as a community to study and to practice. There's a lot of wonderful online resources that people can begin with on yearlongmeditation.org either to begin working with meditation, or if you already are working with meditation, to deepen your practice or to find some new refinements. And that's a great entry point. And from there, we'd love to see as many of you as possible to join us either in Brussels or in England at Boston Court, and to study and practice together. The program in Brussels will have a unique Akhanda Japa, a group meditation session. And then the program in Polston will have a unique practice of Havan, this tantric ritual of sacred fire. So they're both a bit distinct, but both of them really, both of these practices are essential parts of the group meditation that we're undertaking here in Honesdale in northeastern Pennsylvania in the US.
Wonderful, wonderful. And if, from a teacher's aspect, if you could give one little tip to how to best teach somebody about meditation in a very edited version, would you have anything that you could say as a golden nugget for teachers?
Sure. I would say that rather than positioning or seeing meditation as intense effort to create something new in ourselves, it's a capacity to surrender ourselves to find our essential being. It's our natural state. We're trying to discover and experience something which is already there versus create something new. And it's very empowering to realize that there's tremendous depths within ourselves. And meditation is a systematic path to rediscover who we are layer by layer and find our essential awareness. And it means that we already are perfect within. We're simply trying to rediscover that. It takes a lot of the stress and anxiety out of the process of meditation. It makes it a journey of self-exploration that unfolds from a very natural but systematic process of relaxation and inner mental awareness, inner awareness, I would call it. It makes it enjoyable. And that's, I think, a very important part of the path of meditation, both for beginners, intermediates, advanced practitioners, so that we continue and we're inspired to practice rather than dread this intense effort of meditation.
That really takes the pressure off, which is great. It's just something, as you say, that can naturally unfold.
Yes.
Fabulous. Great. So
it's really inspiring to know that there's so many of us out there doing, that have the same goal, and we're all doing it together. Maybe not at the exact same time every day, but we're all, going to our mat with that same intention, our cushion or whatever we use. And it's something that we can feel that we're participating in, that nurtures ourselves and that heals and empowers and nurtures collective consciousness too, wherever we are in the world.
Absolutely. Wonderful. And we've spoken just briefly about how we came into yoga. Well, I came into it from an asana point of view, and you yourself, Shiva. And I often find, particularly in the UK, that pranayama might be the next step that might be introduced into a yoga class or a yoga environment. And whilst people understand some of the concepts, I often find that they don't fully understand the full benefits of it. But you very kindly picked out an extract from the book, the Yoga Sutras, your father's book, and I'm wondering if you might be able to read for us.
It was wonderful to share this idea. It's from this book, The Practice of the Yoga Sutra, which is a commentary on the second book of the Yoga Sutra called Sadhanapada. And this particular section comes from page 242, 243, which is a commentary on Sutra 49. And it says, perfection in yoga comes from attaining mastery over the mind and prana. Mind and prana are twin and mutually dependent laws. They go together. When one is disturbed, so is the other. The stability of one stabilizes the other. In Yoga Sutra, chapter 1, verse 2, Patanjali says that we attain mastery over the mind by arresting its roaming tendencies. In Sutra 249, he tells us that we attain mastery over prana by arresting its chaotic functions. Prana is the fundamental principle of pulsation. It is the primordial ripple of the life force, beginningless and unending. It is self-intelligent. Like primordial Prakriti, prana is unmanifest and manifest. In its unmanifest state, it is referred to as Kundalini Shakti. Prana manifests in response to Ishvara's will. It is the vibrant, intelligent force that breathes life into matter. Prana is not our creation. We are its creation. It is as pervasive as Ishvara and as omniscient. Following divine will, prana manifests in us in different grades and degrees. As humans, we have been given the power and privilege to further awaken and gather prana shakti, and thus fill ourselves with a higher degree of vigor, vitality, strength, stamina, and intelligence. We accomplish this through the practice of pranayama. Pranayama begins with arresting our irregular breathing patterns. The breath is the link between the body and the mind, as well as the balancing factor. When a disturbing thought arises in the mind, our breathing pattern becomes erratic, shaky, noisy, and shallow. Erratic breathing triggers a chaotic response in our nervous system, gastrointestinal tract, endocrine glands, and heart. If left unchecked, the chaotic response intensifies, throwing us into a state of physical and mental turmoil. This process can be checked only if the breath summons its innate wisdom and the power to calm itself by breathing deeply and evenly, without jerks and noise. Deep, even breathing restores the body's natural equilibrium. According to the Yoga Sutra, arresting the mechanical movement of breath and infusing the breath with conscious awareness is pranayama. In tandem, asana and pranayama mature into the higher states of yoga, which culminate in samadhi.
Wonderful. Just such a clear way of thinking about it.
It shows the totality of yoga and how working with our breath and the subtle energetic dimension of breath as prana is really at the heart of all of yoga, not just asana and pranayama, of course, but really meditation and really all of life.
Thank you for reading that. Is there anything else that you would like to share with the listeners today?
Small little footnote to the meditation tracker, because I found that one of the easiest ways to participate in year-long meditation and keep track is the fact that you can auto-log your minutes. So if you know that you're committing to a certain number of minutes per day, but you don't want to go on every day and say, okay, today I did my normal meditation of X number of minutes, you can just set it to auto-log every day, and then you can tweak from there. Say one day you didn't, you were traveling or you got sick and you didn't sit for as long, and another day you were super inspired, or you did other practices that count toward meditation. For example, when yoga teachers lead a shavasana, then that is considered a relaxation that counts toward your minutes. So that kind of thing can tip the scales too.
Yeah.
So it's really helpful to know that is a tool that we've tried to make as easy and user friendly as possible.
Very much so, because it very much fits into modern life when people have
Absolutely.
demands on them and they would like to meditate, but maybe life gets in the way sometimes. It doesn't means that they don't feel bad that they haven't done
that you haven't done it or you haven't logged it. Yeah, is the other thing. Oh my gosh, what about last week? Did I forget to log a whole week? And
yes.
what did I do last Wednesday? This takes all the kind of guesswork out of it.
That's fabulous. That's a great tip for everyone. Wonderful. So we can find you online, Himalayan Institute. You're on all social media platforms?
We are. We'd invite everyone to check out yearlongmeditation.org specifically about that practice.
Yep.
But also www.himalayaninstitute.org as well for a lot more about what we're doing. And then specifically, if you're interested in either the program in Brussels at the end of January or the program in England at Bolston Court, March 20th to 22nd, you can check it out on our website at the Himalayan Institute. You can also visit Bolston Court.
Fabulous. Well, we're very excited to have you over at the UK. I really want the listeners to hear what you're saying and get down there and participate in your courses. It sounds fabulous, and I wish you.
We're excited too.
Yeah, very excited to visit England again.
Yeah. Wonderful.
We love the UK. Yeah, so this will be like going to our second or third or fourth home.
Good. Well, I'm glad it'll be wonderful. I wish you all the success with that. Thank you very much. It's been wonderful.
Thanks,
Emma.
Yeah. Look forward to speaking with you again.
Thank you. Thanks for tuning in to Voices of Yoga, and we hope you feel inspired. You can find more of our free podcasts at www.voicesofyoga.com, and we are on all the main podcast platforms too. We are very open to comments and suggestions, so if you'd like to also leave us a review on iTunes, that would be fantastic. If you would like to know when the most recent podcast is going to be broadcast, you can sign up to our newsletter on the website and we will drop you an email with that recent update. Voices of Yoga is our passion project, and if you like what we're doing and you would like to support us, it would be very much appreciated, and you can do that through a very small donation on our website on the donation button if you feel so inclined. If you would like to collaborate with us in terms of sponsorship, advertising, or even suggest coming on and being a guest, then please drop us an email at voicesofyoga@mail.com. So thanks again, and we look forward to bringing you another inspiring yoga story next week. Namaste.